Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Be Better Everyday podcast, where we explore what it means to grow, improve, and show up for ourselves daily. Together, we'll share our journeys to be better, one step at a time. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. Let's grow together. I'm one of your hosts, Josh. I'm here with my co host, Mac. What's going on, bud?
Hey, buddy, how are you?
Pretty good. Excited to start another podcast.
Absolutely. Number 5.
I know, look at us go. We're getting there. Big shout out to, we're expanding. We're global now.
International podcast.
International podcasting.
Thank you to the listener in Bremen, Germany, and Hanoi, Vietnam, whoever you are out there. Appreciate the listen.
I hope you come back. I hope you're listening to this new one, since y'all listened to the last one.
And Waynesboro. Waynesboro, Virginia. Hey, I'm headed your way this weekend. Coming to see you.
Meet up. Listener meet up.
Yeah, listener meet up, the entrance to the Blue Ridge Parkway.
So, what's been going on, dude? I mean, you got a pretty good weekend coming up.
I do. I'm so excited about this weekend. We're doing our men's retreat with our church. And it's a chance for me and my son to just get away, just the two of us. So it's a men's trip. There's like 50 or 51 guys going. Call it Men on the Mountain. We're headed up to Lynchburg, Virginia. And we are just going to spend time together, fellowship. We're taking a couple classes. We have this guy who's like a caricature artist. And so he goes through and like he does like a 1.5 hour class, if you will, but as he's giving kind of his testimony or story or message or whatever it is, he does it through caricature artwork. So he draws the picture as he's going through the message, and it's really kind of a cool way to connect. And my son is really into like for a while, not really, he wasn't anime, but he's into like cool artwork, and you know, he's a Nintendo kid, so he appreciates the cartoonish, and he really got into that last year. And then our pastor from our church is coming up this year and going to give a little message on what it means to be a Christian man, as far as like a family man, or a Christian man in the community. So super excited about it. And then we'll get to play. There's a lot of downtime. There's some really good food. The guys that run the crew that runs the dining hall up there always does really good. They do really good meals for us while we're there, and then we'll have a lot of downtime. And what my son and I do is we go up there, and there's a guy that comes. He's a brain doctor here in Richmond. Not really like brain surgeon, but he more studies the brain. And awesome guy. He's a saxophone, plays the sax as well, and he's super into board games. And not like your traditional Monopoly or Scrabble or anything like that. It's more like the in-depth, like Catan or something on that, like a collaborative game. And last year we played this game called Zombicide Prison Outbreak. And it's kind of a collaborative game where you each play different characters and you try to beat the zombies in the game. And you're working as a team, not really like trying to beat the other players. You're trying to beat the story in the game. And there's different modes you can play and different ways to set up the pieces to the board so you can play a different story every time. And there's some missions that are easier and some that are harder. So we played 4 games last year. Each took about an hour to 2 apiece, and we lost every time. So we're looking to go. We're going to go back and looking to spend time with James and just enjoying fellowshipping and playing board games together and just being surrounded by Christian men. I think, I try to be a good example for my son, but I think it's good to have him around other Christian men as well. Iron sharpens iron. So
100%.
We're super excited about going and getting away.
Well, I need a caricature of you as a garden gnome. That's what I need. You can just save it for my Christmas present this year.
That's fine.
I'm down with that. I might be doing a little horse trading this weekend on car stuff, so that'll be cool. Hopefully,
surprise there.
Yeah, project car life. It's kind of how it goes. So I think this episode we're going to talk about food and relationships. And for two big guys, we don't want to talk about food because we don't want to
Yeah.
think about giving it up.
Yeah, and well, I think once we can kind of find what a healthy relationship with food is, I think there's more benefits to it than just it's like I said, it's all about a healthy relationship, and that's what I don't have with food is a healthy relationship.
Me either. Well, I would think food would think I have a healthy relationship with it because
Yeah.
I'll eat it.
Exactly.
And that's what it's there for. So I sent some questions. Did you answer them? Did you bring your sheet? I see I have a sheet in front of me. Like a good.
I read through the questions.
I mean, I can read them again. I just kind of answered them quick because I
Yeah,
felt
and
like.
then we'll just go up and I want it to be I want it to be a conversation about it too. So
Yeah. So it's broken down into like 4 sections. First section is like emotional and psychology relationship with food. So, do you use food as a way to avoid with dealing with difficult emotions?
absolutely,
Me too, dude. I mean, food's always there for you.
always.
Mine's pizza's always there for me. When I'm hurting, when I'm mad, when I'm sad. Hey, you want to get some pizza?
And
Yes. It's always yes.
it's accessible. I think that's part of the problem. How easily accessible it is, whether it be a frozen pizza you have in the freezer, or whatever it costs to get a pizza at Costco, or Papa John's is always running some kind of special, and they got that delicious garlic butter sauce.
Also, if Sam's wants to sponsor me with 4 meat pizzas, shout out Sam's Club.
Shout out Sam's Club. But yeah, I think we go through different seasons, and not just like the physical seasons, but seasons of life, and certain ones are more stressful than others, and then it's always something, as a guy who's always been big. I'm the biggest I've ever been now, but from a guy who's always been big most of his life, and
Well, I think you're the same as me too. I'm like the biggest person in my family.
yep,
Yeah. Like
and
not even close.
and I think growing up we didn't have a lot of money, so it wasn't a lot like food. We were never food insecure or anything, but there wasn't a lot of extra. And so there was no waste. And I think some of the problems that I have with it, and we may get to it later, is that like the other night I went out and got uh Chick-fil-A for the family. And, a family of 5 at Chick-fil-A is, $60 easy. And I don't want to waste it. So like if my wife wasn't feeling great and she had got a Chick-fil-A sandwich and she wasn't going to be able to finish it, I'm like, well, I'm not wasting that.
I mean, well, we grew up with, parents or grandparents that came from the Depression era. And
Yeah.
so you finish your plate before you can do anything else. How many kids our age and older, you always heard you better finish that plate before you get up.
You'd be eating it for breakfast.
Yeah. But I mean, that's just kind of how it was here in America.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
But then I think a lot of good times a lot of happy times revolve around food too.
I know. I think that's part of the problem too, and I think we'll get to that in a little bit. But with dealing with the difficult emotion and avoiding it, it's definitely true. I think I brought this up to you because I've been thinking about this subject so much about my own personal relationship with food,
Mm-hmm.
and I figured since we're both big guys, we're probably both.
Oh yeah, like when I go through, my PTSD hits me worse around the holidays. But that just depression and not being motivated to do the exercise I'm supposed to be doing or to be doing, eating right or whatever. And then it's like, my wife will get stuff in this at the house for the kids and stuff like that. But dude, you want to talk about an unhealthy relationship?
That midnight snack relationship?
Me and little Debbie have an unhealthy relationship.
Yeah.
I like it all.
That's the mistress, little Debbie?
Yeah, I like the peanut butter bars. I like the oatmeal cream pies. talk about zebra cake.
And it sounds like you're like me too, because I grew up like that was like a rare treat, was like a little Debbie. But
Exactly.
when you got it, it always hit so good. So it always, I think it kind of brings back like good childhood memories for me too.
Yes.
I, I honestly think that some of this stuff is just brings back good feelings and good times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so when you're in that depression and you're trying to reach for something to make you feel better, food's always been there. And I just tend to one of my problems is I just overeat.
Me
If
too.
if we're making something for dinner for the kids and we're having something different, like we'll usually fix theirs first, get them out of the way. And like if I'm making like an Alfredo or something for us, and the kids are having corn dog nuggets and French fries and applesauce or green beans or whatever, I'm definitely snagging a couple. I'm definitely dad taxing a couple corn dog nuggets for sure.
100%. That's what you do as a dad.
Yeah.
When you
So.
open a bag of like gummies or something, you gotta take a few.
Oh yeah.
You pop
Couple.
a Coke, you
Yeah.
gotta take a sip.
Let me get
That
some
tax is
M&Ms
real.
off. Let me get a couple of M&Ms off the top.
Well, think about like movies too. Like what do they do in movies when it's sad? It's always, oh, you get some ice cream to get
Yep.
over a breakup or this.
Yeah, you always see him going to a breakup with a pint of Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the next question then. What is your biggest fear when it comes to changing the way you eat?
I think I always think I'm not going to find stuff that I enjoy, that it has to be a miserable process of eating salad with no dressing. And, at the end of last year, I was going through a phase where I was starting to get healthier and eating better. And yes, it was a lot of change and stuff that I wasn't used to eating, but it also gave me an opportunity to find new stuff that I never ate before, that like, sauteed squash and zucchini. I could have that 5 nights a week and be happy. A little bit of butter, a little bit of garlic, saute them up in the pan with a little bit of olive oil, a little butter to finish them off, and it's delicious. And that's something that I never. So yes, it's different because you think, mentally you think, oh, I have to eat healthier. It's going to be, bland chicken and, salad. Like I said, salad with no dressings, and it's going to be stuff that you think stuff that you're not going to want to eat. But I think it's also like the flip side of that is to be excited about taking risk and stepping outside of your food comfort zone and finding healthier options that do taste good.
Yeah, one of the things that's really got me thinking on this subject a lot lately is I've heard a lot of like experts and like people in health and fitness industry talk about their relationship with food and how it's fuel. And that's literally what it's supposed to be, to help keep moving us forward. And what we have now is not fuel. There's so much of it that's just so good and so palatable that
It's
you can
processed sugars and stuff like that make it. Well, I think Jordan Peterson's on a diet where he only eats like grass-fed beef, water, and
he's
salt.
carnivore. Him and his daughter Michaela.
Yeah, it's like
Michaela is like literally beef, salt, and
water, and that's it. Flat water.
But I wrote down my biggest fear. I think some of it is I feel like I can't, not that I can't do it, that I won't be able to just stay the course. Because you know me, I love to start projects, but I'm such a good starter. But I seem to have a hard time going through with it. But I just don't. I think the older I get, I realize that there's like different forms of ADHD, and like that's one of the symptoms. And I'm pretty sure that that's like part of mine is like being able to start and wanting to start a million projects, but I only like to start things.
And for me, along that same line, it's like I come out the gate so strong that it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
As a fall, I should probably be making slow, long-term changes as opposed to going. If I like when I got into playing disc golf or whatever, it's like I gotta go out and I want to play 3 to 4 days a week. I want to get better. I'm watching YouTube videos. I'm like studying like the professionals. I'm watching the tournaments. I got the bag. I've got the disc. I've got extra drivers and putters and stuff. And it's like I'm all in. But it's like, well, I can't go play 3 or 4 times a week because I have small children, and I can't neglect my family. Now, if I was 20 and single and that's what I was into, then, or like when I was playing darts, I had a couple really nice sets of darts. I was going out 6 days a week. I played in multiple leagues. I'm all in 100%. But at this stage of my life, like coming out, switching from the diet of I can eat whatever I want to let's find a diet that we need. I jump all in. I go buy the stuff, and then a couple days later, I'm buying fast food. And it's like I wasted all this money on groceries.
Yeah, exactly. That was another one of my fears that I wrote down is not being able to afford it, and because like I've talked about before, is I do the best when I'm on high protein, and so like eating a lot of beef and chicken and stuff, and it just gets really expensive up front. But I've been starting to think about the back end, and then that really got me thinking about my relationship with food. And I think that some of my relationship with food was like, well, I'm already big, I'm already not going to have a long life. I might as well enjoy the food that I have, and I think when I was depressed and stuff and eating food, it makes you feel better. But part of the reason I think I ate shittier food when I was depressed was because I was in so much pain and struggling to even want to be alive every day that I was like, well, at least this will help me get there quicker.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the big things that I've like noticed when I've been thinking about this over the past month or so is like I honestly think that I was using food to like help me get to the grave earlier because I was just in so much pain.
Yeah.
And I might as well at least enjoy it while I'm still here.
Yeah. You're exactly right. I mean, you are very valid in that feeling. I feel like I don't think I've ever been that aspect, but with the money aspect, it's like now, especially like I mean, do you want to talk about eggs? How ridiculous that is.
But buying eggs on the front end compared to what we're going to spend in medical bills on the back end.
You're going to spend it somewhere or another. Yeah, you're going to spend that money somewhere or another. And and I think having access to like these warehouse stores, like where you can buy 10 pounds of ground beef, it brings the price from $4.99 a pound down to like $3 a pound or $3.29 a pound. So.
But I will tell you that Jackie seeing 10 pounds at Sam's Club of ground beef really grossed her out. So
oh, yeah. Like a big 10-pound chub of ground beef. Yeah, I bring it home, and what I do is I bought a scale, and I have like a little burger press thing. And so I'll take like 3 pounds and make it into like 1/3 pound burgers. And I'll vacuum seal that. I went and bought a vacuum sealer. I'll buy, and then I'll take a couple and like break them down into like 1.5 pound packages for meatloaf, or like 1.25 pound packages for adding to pastas or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, talk about the money, yes, we do need to be on a higher protein diet, but then it's like you also have to be, I think growing up, our parents tried to stretch as much as they could, so it's easier to put a small amount of ground beef into a pasta sauce and put it on spaghetti than it is to give everybody a hamburger.
Yeah.
It makes it go a little bit further and the pasta's cheap.
Yep. That, and I remember, growing up, like, boys, everything becomes a competition too. Like, how many times did we go to CC's in high school and stuff and see who could eat the most? And like, whoever ate the most was, like, the coolest person when they left.
Exactly. Or, like, we go to Golden Corral and, like, come at the tail end of breakfast and stay for lunch.
I was honestly thinking about Golden Corral specifically earlier because me and my granddad Pop, when we used to go, it was like a straight up competition of like me trying to eat more than him when I was little until the point where I got to where he could not eat as much as I could.
Not that we need to, but
Yeah.
if you had told me you want to go growl for breakfast, we would have gone. It would not have been a no from me.
Like, it got me thinking and made me kind of miss him a little bit today because we used to make like dessert plate and the whole bottom of the plate is like cookies and you put ice cream on top of it.
Work your way to it.
And then I was like, we used to crush that and finish that every time. Me and him both. We would make our own plate like that, like animals. And then I'm just really glad we're talking about this.
Yeah.
So my next question on this list, and I didn't answer it yet because I really didn't know how to answer it, is do I associate my self-worth with what I eat or how my body looks? Honestly, I don't feel like I care what my body looks like as long as I'm strong. And I kind of always felt like that.
Yeah, I've never been like, well, now I'm like at a point where I need to lose weight because I'm uncomfortable and I'm starting to realize that I have limitations and restrictions and stuff that I can't do. So in that aspect, like, I do feel like if we were to go to a theme park, I can get on a roller coaster. And so I do tie that to like my self-worth. And I feel like, I can't experience these things with my kids and stuff like that. Or we went to a concert the other day and I knew when I went to this arena 2 years ago that the seats were uncomfortable and like were not built for like, big people. And I was uncomfortable then. And I knew going into it this time, I knew I was going to be uncomfortable. Now, the concert was amazing. I spent most of the time standing and worshiping. And, but like, it's not a good experience when you go somewhere going into it that you're not going to be able to sit down comfortably.
Yeah. That was like
4 hours,
Like when I used to contract for the military and traveling everywhere. I love traveling. I think traveling is so important. I know I said it before, but I hated flying because I know I'd have to get in that little tiny seat. Or like...
Especially when you were going to like Guam and stuff,
38 hours, I think, is travel time.
To Alaska.
From, leaving Richmond to Guam, I think one way was like 38 hours of travel. And then back was like 40 some hours of travel time.
Yeah.
So... And that was after my first back surgery, too. So it was already uncomfortable. But, yeah, I just... That question, I don't know. Next question is, is how has my relationship with food been shaped by my upbringing or culture? I mean, American... What is it? Like, over... I think it's like 60 or 70% of people are overweight. And like
fall into overweight category.
Yeah, and like it's like 40% of people are obese now.
Yeah.
And like when I see footage, like some of these documentaries me and Jake have been watching lately, it's like people in the 60s and 70s, and there's like nobody big.
No big people.
Or if you see footage from other countries, there's not big people.
But in like I said, now I'm not condoning smoking or anything like that, but in that new show Landman that was out, he said that like it's the processed sugars that are going to kill us because like you look at countries like Japan or Italy where alcohol is normal, tobacco products or smoking is a normal thing, and they aren't in the leading causes of death in those countries, so it's like, yes, we know that those things are unhealthier, but that's not what's killing them. They're dying of old age over there. So what's killing us is that these processed sugars, these GMO products, and these hormones that they're putting in. If you look at even like, having younger girls, if you look at a teenage girl from the 60s or 70s, and then you look at a teenage girl today, the breast development has started younger and stuff like that. And it's got to be coming from the foods. Yeah,
there's been studies that show that because all the hormones in our foods.
Mm-hmm. And my mom was always, my mom was always big growing up. I think my mom had the weight loss surgery. She had gastric bypass. 2005 or 2006, I think she was 335 pounds when the day of her surgery. Probably 350 when she started the process. And she was drinking a 12-pack of Coca-Cola a day. A 12-pack of sodas a day. And I was a soda drinker. I do still enjoy a soda, but I've learned to enjoy water, which is something I didn't really grow up doing.
Yeah, me too. I had to learn to enjoy it too.
And then I enjoy drinking. I love sweet tea.
Me too.
Love sweet
That's
tea.
my weakness.
I switched over to Milo's 0 calorie made with Splenda. And when I go back to the couple times they haven't had it at the store, and I bought the red cap, like switching from that, I'm not saying that I don't know what the long term studies of Splenda are either. Those sugar alternatives, sugar substitutes are probably might not be great for us either.
But you got to start somewhere.
Exactly. And so, but going back to the red cap, the sweet tea made with sugar, man, it upsets my stomach,
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, like, my family and, my mom was big, all my aunts and uncles were big. So it's like, it wasn't that uncommon for me to come out big,
Yeah. And I was thinking about this question earlier that the relationship with food is like, that's some of the times, like the only time the families actually get together is because of food.
An event that revolves around food, whether it be a funeral or a birthday or a family reunion.
There's going to be food.
Holiday.
And it's like the only time you see your family happily together is when there's so much food around that you can't even finish it all.
Exactly, and it's never healthy options either. It's always casseroles and cakes and,
So the next section is control in eating patterns. Have you ever felt out of control with food? What triggers that feeling?
Well, like I was talking about before, is yes, I definitely overeat, and I think part of that is not wanting to waste the money. I think that's what triggers it for me. Or I think sometimes it's just like completely subconscious. Like I don't even realize I'm doing it. Like I don't even realize sometimes that like I'm snacking on one of the kids' chicken nuggets while we're making dinner. I don't even realize I'm doing it sometimes.
Oh, I'm 100%. Like, if there's pizza in the house, I am definitely out of control. Every time I come downstairs to refill my drink, I'm grabbing 2 more slices.
Yeah.
And I don't even think about it. I just do it. Or if I'm like upstairs chilling or something, and I know there's more pizza down here, I'm like, oh, I need that more pizza.
And I'll eat till I'm stuffed and still try to eat more. Like
me too.
It's to the point where it's uncomfortable.
Me too. And what triggers that feeling? For me, I know one of the things that trigger it is my pain levels. Like I've said before, when I feel like shit, I want to eat shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of my favorite sayings to tell doctors. But when it comes down to it, I just don't know like what it is. That's like what I'm searching for. Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I don't know what triggers mine, but
for me, I have an easy one because when my pain's up, I want to go up. Yeah, and like depression too. Like when I'm down, but most of the time my depression rides my pain, so it's like mine kind of go hand in hand. A lot of my
depression and I will.
And sometimes boredom. A lot of times it's just I'm bored in the house.
Yes.
That'll trigger me to just like, oh, I'll go downstairs and make some nachos, or instead of like going outside and doing something, especially since it's been cold lately and stuff, I just don't want to do anything outside. So,
well, I quit smoking.
Yeah, that'll trigger it.
So I'm trying to, figure out what that hand-to-mouth oral fixation is, whether it be potato chips or, Cheetos or a couple pieces of candy or whatever. I'm trying to always like, still mimic that same motion, subconsciously. But, and I just had to figure out something different to do. I found these, for a while I bought these flavored toothpicks off of Amazon.
Yeah.
They're like, just a wooden toothpick, but they're coated with like, 0 calorie, of course, but sugar-free, like sour candy. So they taste like a sour apple or a sour cherry or a sour orange.
It seemed like the worst idea for a toothpick.
Yeah, but it's just to get you over like having something in the corner of your mouth or.
I know what you mean because that's how I found those um, cannabis like dip packets and the coffee ones.
Yeah, the
Because,
cannabis.
like I've told you before, like on cold days or the pressure changed now since the second surgery,
Mm-hmm.
I like my four front bottom teeth will taste like metal in my mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and so I will literally eat everything in the house, so I'm not tasting that.
Yeah.
And you get like a little relief when you're eating, and then a few minutes later you just taste metal in your mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just so gross that I'm back in the kitchen again. And so I've luckily found something that kind of helps a little bit, but I still struggle with remembering it because I'm not a dip person or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that. So I'm just like, I don't feel like putting a pouch in my mouth right now. But it was uh, a better alternative to literally eating everything in the house.
I call it eating the kitchen.
Yeah.
Like I'm had nothing I'm ashamed of. I'm a medical cannabis patient, and like so I will, catch a buzz or take my, hit my vape pen or whatever, and then I will get the munchies and I'll go down there and like I don't know I'll be like making a bagel or something like that, and I'll be like eating chips while I'm waiting for like the oven to heat up to like toast the bagel or whatever. Like while it's in the toaster oven, I'll be like snacking on something while I'm making something to eat.
Oh man, a Pop Tart when you got the munchies.
Oh, warm Pop Tart,
I
warm
mean,
cherry Pop Tarts are my favorite.
a chocolate Pop Tart, a chocolate fudge Pop Tart.
S'mores Pop Tarts too.
Yeah, dude, I freaking crushed them. If I got a little, that's why I don't like I don't even like the C Pop Tarts that much anymore. I think because I ate so much of them when I was. uh, uh, do you ever restrict or punish yourself with food, and how does that impact your mindset?
I don't really
I,
punish myself with food.
when I saw this question, I was like, I don't punish myself, and every time I restricted myself, the diets I always choose is always like a keto or a carnivore style, where it's mostly meat anyway, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the way I would prefer to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of pizza, if you if I could just get away from pizza, all I want to eat is meat.
Yeah.
And I just think that's the way my body is. Like Jackie, uh, she likes more veggies and stuff, and we always fight about it. And I'm like, my body never has ever wanted vegetables, and anytime I've tried them different ways, and sometimes they've been okay, but I've never had like vegetables and been like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing
Super
I've ever had.
excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think that's my body just doesn't crave whatever's in vegetables. I think I'm just like a caveman meat eater from jump, bro. Like all
Yeah.
I want is beef.
Yeah. Eat the tomahawk steak,
Just give me
bone
a
and
steak. Like
handle.
yeah, like if I could afford steak every day, that would be the dream.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was thinking the same thing. I was like, I don't think either of us would say that we restrict or punish ourselves with food,
No.
but I think mindful restricting is probably something to work on. And I wouldn't even call it restricting. I would probably say mindfully doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Consciously aware.
Yeah. Um, so this next section is health, body image, and societal pressures. Do you eat based on what your body needs or based on what you think you should eat? I feel like I just brought up, I feel like my body needs more protein because I feel better when I eat protein, but I also eat whatever I want whenever I want. Is
Yeah.
the problem, and what I think is the heart of all
I
these
don't
questions.
restrict myself, and I eat what I want, when I want, where I want, and I think I do need a little more restraint in my life. I'm not going to punish myself with restraint. I'm not going to, I don't want to go on a diet and say I'll never eat this again or I'll never eat that again but I think just moderation and that, like we talked about, that balanced, healthy relationship with food.
Yeah,
Let's not say we're never going to eat pizza again because we love pizza.
it's the perfect food.
Yeah.
It's got everything you could want: carbs, protein. fats. What else could you want, dude?
Yeah.
Here's a good one. Have you ever equated weight loss with happiness? Did it actually make you feel happier?
Yeah, so when, late last year when I was going through it, I begrudgingly started losing weight because I knew I needed to, and I started.
But I saw how excited it made you once you started
I
losing weight.
was once you started feeling better, like we just went for a walk here, and usually we walk a mile or whatever, and I barely made it around the block with my back was throbbing, and I think I could have probably stretched a little prior to going. Probably would have made me feel a lot better. But I know that like that's how I started last time. Is I started walking around the block and I was uncomfortable, and it wasn't long before I was able to go on 2 mile walks and not be uncomfortable. So I just had to push myself past that pain threshold and get there. But I know that once I start losing weight and the clothes start feeling better, and I start sleeping better, and I'm making healthier food decisions, I know how much better I feel.
Yeah. And I think when I lost weight in 2020, like when I was really on everything, I got down to my lowest since Nate was born. I got down to 314, and I felt really good. And I felt better. Like every week I was feeling a little bit better.
And people think 314, that's 314 is still in the morbidly obese category, even for our height.
Yeah.
But for me to get down to 314 right now would be a dream.
Yeah. I would love to be 314 again right now.
I would love to just be able to go to the store, go to Walmart and buy a 2X shirt because, like right now I can't buy a t-shirt at Walmart, you know? And if I do, even if they do have one in my size, the first time I wash it, it's not going to fit anymore,
I know. I tell Jackie all the time my goal, it used to be my goal was to buy all my clothes at Costco because that's how old we are now. Yeah. But now it's like to buy all my clothes at Sam's Club.
Exactly.
That's the dream.
But what do they carry?
I don't care.
2X?
I don't care. Yeah, it's like 2X shirts and like a 40 or
42 pants. Yeah.
Yeah, which I'm pretty close on pants. It's just a shirt.
I'm not close on either.
It's just, but just thinking about being able to do that, just that small, like, oh, if I could just buy all my clothes in this one spot, or if I, like you said, if we could just go to any store and buy any clothes that we saw, that would just be a good feeling.
My wife bought me a pair of jeans at a yard sale. I think they were brand new, still tags on. They were Levi's, but they were like 6 sizes too big for me at the time. And I would wear them because they were nice and they were comfy or whatever. They were huge. I'd have to wear a belt like wrenched down on them. And the other day we went to go to the concert, and I as I put on weight over the years, those pants have slowly started to be the appropriate size for me. And the other day I went to put on the pants to go to the concert, the jeans, and it was snug buttoning them. And I'm like, these pants had started out, they were way too big for me. They would fall off with one step, couldn't even hold them up. And so now it's like, what have I done to get myself to this point? And I know what it is. It's, for a lot of times I had those injuries at work where I wasn't working. I wasn't moving. I had those wrist injuries where I broke my wrist, broke my nose, broken fingers, and they just taken me out of my normal routine of working. And then, here recently with being terminated or whatever, and going through the grievance process to get my job, to get that taken off my record. It's just been depression and, coming outside my normal routine and, spending a lot of time in the recliner and not doing what I'm supposed to do.
And when you break a healthy habit with a bad habit, it's hard to get that healthy one back.
Yeah.
Because it's so much easier to do the wrong things. Basically, when it comes to anything, almost.
Yeah, and it is. It's, they say it only takes doing something 7 times to create a habit. And, there's been, I'll miss, I've been walking every day for the last week or whatever. Let's take the day off. And then, so you take the day off to rest, but then tomorrow you have a meeting to go to or an appointment, so you miss your walk that day. And then the next day something else happens. And then it becomes that habit of getting into the walking habit has quickly gotten you out of the walking habit, and then you just don't even think about it anymore, you know?
Yeah, because when I was really on my walk game, because I mean, at the time, it was literally the only thing I had to focus on because I was going through disability. I was recovering from my back surgery. And so uh, my whole day was about depression most of the time until I found a healthy way to focus on only walking. So I would spend my mornings stretching and rolling out and stuff just to get that walk in. And then when I came back from that walk, I would only focus on recovering from that walk and what it took to get me to the next walk.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was easier to keep a healthy habit because it's literally the only thing I had to focus on because everyone else was doing their own things outside of the house and I was stuck at the house.
Yeah, I think, right when I started seeing the weight loss doctor, um, it was right before my grandpa passed away, and I was walking every day, and especially right after he passed away, I was motivated to do it even more because he was such a strong, proponent of me making sure that I got healthier. But then, the reality of him passing kind of sunk in, and not having him to, mentor me or just spend time with. And then the holidays happened, and then, the grievance hearing with the work happened, and a lot of that led to my depression and stuff. And so I told my wife the other day, I'm setting a hard date of March 1st, getting back into the daily walking, getting myself back into the grind, and, trying to get as close as I can. I know it's going to be hard for me to get the 10,000 steps a day right off the bat, but slowly build up to that, and then either progressively stay around that 10,000, or get as many as I can, maybe more.
Maybe it's not about the 10,000 steps. Maybe it's about a 1 mile walk for a week.
Yeah, it's just
then maybe the next week it's about 2 1 mile walks.
Yeah, and it's just about, like I said, it's not about the end game. It's just about the progress.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to do here is trying to find that one thing today that can make tomorrow a little easier and a little bit better.
Absolutely.
Like, what was the quote that I sent yesterday? Bad news is a lot can change in a year. Good news is a lot can change in a year.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're trying to do here.
I think
that's what's so important about us just meeting up and doing this.
Yeah, I like the one you sent me the other day. Telling me punched it in the face.
Oh yeah.
I needed that day.
Yeah, it's just a nice quote to send out.
Mm-hmm.
I just like to send that out randomly to people.
This week I had to testify as a character witness in one of my buddy his grievance hearing. He's going through a similar situation to me. They kind of railroaded us and tried to make us kind of the scapegoat for a lot of shortcomings from the administration or whatever, and try to make it appear as if the supervisors are the problem. And so I had to testify for him. But just going back and, when I had my hearing, it was 8.5 hours long. And even just going in for 20 minutes on the Zoom call and zooming in for his meeting and answering questions on his behalf about how good of a supervisor he is and a lot of the things that are happening there. I came out of that meeting, I logged off, and my body was just so tense. And it's is it the PTSD, the hearing, or seeing the lawyer, or just, the lawyer tried to cut my credibility by saying, you were, terminated for the exact same thing he's terminated from. What makes you, right to testify on his behalf, you know? And it's like, what happened to, innocent until proven guilty? I understand it's not a legal hearing, it's a grievance hearing or whatever, but it's like, I had my hearing and we're still awaiting a decision from the grievance officer. So it's like, I think the fact that it's taken him this long to decide, I think if it was clear cut I was in the wrong, he would have handed down the decision pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But as long as it's taking, obviously there's some doubt that he's checking out and going over video footage and stuff. But just being in that meeting the other day, I wanted to be there for my friend and testify on his behalf because he is an amazing supervisor. And he spent 20 years with this department and dedicating his life to the youth, the youth in Virginia. And to see us get treated like that is not fair. And so I wanted to be there for him. But afterwards, my body was so tense, my tension was so high, my anxiety was through the roof, and I just wasn't right the rest of the day.
Yeah, it was probably just a little bit of each of those situations happening all at the same time to make one anxiety soup.
Yeah, and that night I ordered pizza, and it was
good, wasn't it?
Well, I messed up the order. I ordered the kids cheese pizza. And I went to order me a supreme pizza, and I guess I clicked on from like pan pizza to hand tossed or whatever, and for some reason it came, and when I switched it from pan to hand tossed, it like kicked the supreme out, and I thought the supreme was still in there. I just added it to the order, and I get there, it's just cheese pizza, and I'm like, but I ate it. I did eat it.
It still hit the spot.
Yeah.
So this last section of questions is about breaking free and moving forward. And I think that's what everything about this talk so far is, about, really.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think it's just recognize that we both recognize that we have a problem. And that's when I'm talking about, if you talk about like a 12-step program, that's the first step, is admitting that you have a problem.
Yeah. I think I was, when I was thinking about this earlier, I look back to like, we were big as teenagers. Well, big our whole lives.
Yeah.
When I was a teenager and before my first back surgery, it never crossed my mind about, like, unless it was like, oh, we're just going to lose weight for an event or something like that. Because I never thought that it would be trouble to lose weight. And I never thought, that it was a real issue until after my surgery. And then I started getting bigger and bigger.
The issue that I had was when I went into the military, you have to be a certain size or a height weight ratio or whatever.
Thank God you got a fat neck, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what, I was never able to make the weight that they wanted me to be, but I was able to. They have a weird way of measuring body mass or whatever. They take your waist minus your neck, which is not an accurate way to depict body mass anyway, but that's the way they do. And they get to a number and on a scale, and I was always able to get there, so I wasn't like in jeopardy getting kicked out for my size or whatever, because I could still do the 1.5 mile run and the push-ups and sit-ups and everything. I was just a bigger guy. But I've always known, like, I had to drop a little weight to go into the Navy, before I left. And so it's kind of, and then when I came home and like, I went to, up until like the last maybe 5 or 6 years, it's gotten to the point where like, I can't ride a roller coaster, or I can't ride, rides at the state fair with the kids or something, because I can't get the lap bar down and stuff. And it's like, I want to get into a position where like I can do those things with the kids comfortably.
Yeah.
I don't need to ride all the rides. I'm not trying to go upside down. But like, if the little one wants me to ride the Scooby-Doo roller coaster with her, like, I need to be able to do that,
Yeah, and not need the car to yourself.
Exactly. Sitting sideways, knees all bent up, out of shape, trying to prevent a cramp.
So off of that, this is a good question. What would a truly balanced and healthy relationship with food look like for you?
I think I was doing it like a couple months ago. I really was. I was eating multiple meals a day. I was enjoying what I was eating. I was able to even go out to eat and make healthy decisions. But it's so quick, the problem with it is we live, for the fact that I'm fund employed. I do keep a fairly busy schedule, and it's so easy to grab, the burgers and fries, and they're there for you. And
I mean, you're driving past them everywhere here.
Everywhere, and they taste good. Burgers and fries taste good. But when I was consciously making stuff that I could throw in the microwave and even eat while driving, like, chopped up chicken or cut up chicken and vegetables, I can eat that while I drive, So it's about, or put it in a wrap, put it in one of those 0 carb wraps. And, but I was eating like 5 meals a day. I was having healthy snacks. I was getting up in the morning, and, I was waiting. At first I was walking and then taking the kids to school and going for a walk and then coming home. But that was too long to go without eating. So when I got up in the morning, I would have a banana and a yogurt, and then do what I need to do, like take the kids to school, go for a walk, and then come home and eat breakfast. And I would have, a bacon, egg, and cheese wrap, or I would have like a protein bowl where I'd toss some sweet potatoes in the air fryer and then put some bacon and sausage and eggs on top of it and cheese and everything. But I was doing it. That's what it looks like. It looks like I know what it looks like, and I know how happy I am. I just have to make it a priority.
Yeah.
And I just have resulted to going out to eat or getting something delivered, or because it's easy, you know.
I know. It's way too easy to do the wrong thing.
And I love the Chinese food, you know.
I know. I had Thai food last night. It was so good. Shout out Tip Thai Four Seasons Chicken, dude. It's the best. It's better than any Chinese food. I was telling Jackie this last night. I was like, I feel like this is what General Tso's chicken is trying to be. But for me, a healthy and balanced relationship with food looks like hitting my protein goal. Because, like I've said before, that if I can hit between 230 and 250 of grams of protein every day, everything else seemed so easy for me. It was easy to say no to chips. It was easy to say no to ice cream. And what I did notice is when I ate like that, when I ate like ice cream and other shit, like my body didn't like it as much.
Mm-hmm.
Like it tasted good. Don't get me wrong. The taste is still bomb. But
it's like
the way it felt, my body processing it, it's like, oh, this is harsh on you.
It's like the way that I was talking about with the tea is like, I had the zero sugar, 0-calorie tea for a while, and then I go back and try the sugar tea, and it just upsets my stomach. It doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah. And then I put in, or I wrote down when I answered this question as, having 250 grams of protein in cheat days or meals, but I put that in quotes because I really didn't know what, I was trying to convey. And I think what I was really thinking was that when I eat random food like pizza or chips or whatever, to be able to look at it and know that I only want to eat this because it really tastes good.
Yeah, and that's
not because it's actually fueling my body.
Yeah, and so like what it looks like is, it looks like you're able to make healthy decisions, but you're also not going to deprive yourself if you want something, and realizing the consequences, not really consequences, but realizing what those choices mean.
Yeah, realize that, when I do want my pizza, that, oh, yeah, you're going to pay for it a little bit, but it's worth it to you, but not have it
consistently making good decisions.
Yeah, if it, keeps me the right track 6 days a week or, 4 days a week.
Yeah. It looks like making healthier decisions, and, if that's what's going to keep you, if having one, allowing yourself to make the decision is going to keep you on track 90% of the time, then, you just have to find that healthy balance and not letting that 10% become the 90%,
Yeah, I literally wrote down here, if I can stick to an 80-20 or a 90-10 rule.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote that down.
Mm-hmm.
Is, if I can, I think I could be happy if if I can do an 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
And it seems so simple to say, but when you're walking through the grocery store, or you drive past from here to the grocery store, you got to pass like multiple fast food places and restaurants.
So many.
To even get to the grocery store, and you're like, why are we going here? Why don't we just stop here?
Yeah.
Especially eggs will be $1 a piece before long.
It's so crazy. I can't imagine that eggs have reached that level.
Yeah. But, I mean, that's what happened when that bird flu came in. And they had to get rid of 17 million birds.
I was looking at that, and I read a couple articles that might say the lady that was making those decisions was the person influencing some of those inspectors may have been not making the most wise decisions. I don't know. I'm not saying it's a conspiracy. I'm just saying that, like,
when I think anything government involved is kind of a conspiracy almost. Yeah. The bad part is having, they're on both sides of everything. So it always is a little bit of a conspiracy. If you could talk to your younger self about food, what do you think you would say?
Don't create the bad habits, because I know that some of my poor habits have rubbed off on my kids. And, my 14-year-old has tried a cigarette, thinking that she didn't like it. But it's like, yes, I don't want her smoking. Yes, I'm not going to support her smoking. It's like, but I also don't want to be a hypocrite. And I think I have done that similar situation with food, and I let my kids make some unhealthy choices, younger, that have created some habits that, like, I wish they didn't have. It was, if I was going to tell myself, allow yourself to be the example instead of, trying to fix the problem.
Yeah, I like that. Me too, because like you said, I can definitely see it in Nate too. Because anytime I'm ready for a pizza, Nate's down for a pizza too.
Yeah.
And I know he got that directly from me. And I would tell myself, definitely look at it as fuel, not food. Because basically, when you come down to it, that's literally all your body's using it for is fuel. And now I've got so much extra fuel that my body stored it up.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, your body's using it as full food. Excuse me, words. Your body's using it as fuel, but you're using it as so many other things than fuel. You're using it as comfort. You're using it as a companion. You're using it as a relief, or
to fill all the holes you want to fill.
Exactly.
It's like you got all these potholes in you, and food comes through and can patch those holes up.
And
it does a good job. It's like when they actually patch your road. When they came by and they do it real quick. Oh yeah, thanks for fixing that pothole. And then next thing you know, that pothole's worse or bad.
Worse, they tamp it in there, cold pack, and then
then next thing you know, 6 months later, it's a worse pothole than you had before.
But when they come and like tar the road and do the whole road where it's nice and it's like,
it makes
dream rollerblading conditions.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of how food is. And I would tell myself to hit my protein goals. Don't worry about other shit.
Yeah. But like you said, when you hit your protein goals, that you're not finding yourself making unhealthy decisions. So.
Yeah, it was way easier, and it was way easier. Like kind of now, like I kind of bash myself a little bit after I eat real shitty for a little bit. Afterwards, I'm like, better now. Like before, I just didn't know.
Yeah.
Like when I was younger, it was just nobody talked about shit like that. And everybody talked about diets. It was always weird diets when we were young.
Yeah, it was always
like cabbage soup diet and.
Well, I mean, now I guess
cayenne pepper in your water diet.
Yeah, exactly. Well, cucumbers and lemons in your water with cayenne pepper.
Yeah, it'll solve all your problems.
But and then a lot of these diets are rebranded. I think carnivore is just Atkins rebranded. High protein.
Well, I think carnivore is kind of like the original diet.
Yeah.
I think that's literally what we evolved from. Was hunter-gathering, and we've been sold this lie of 3 meals a day kind of deal, because you really don't need 3 meals a day if you're really honest about it.
Oh, it depends.
When we were hunter-gatherers, and we were that more than we were what we are now. What's the Industrial Revolution like? 100, 250 years or something?
Yeah.
And a lot of before that was scarcity.
Yeah,
and you ate what you killed, or you grew.
They talk about intermittent fasting and stuff like that, and that's just, that's a lot of those guys went to intermittent fasting because that was the only option,
Yeah, and well, it's good if you're like overweight for intermittent fasting, but there's also negatives, It's just finding, and we're so individual, I think too. It's like we get stuck in these. Oh, you have to try this new diet, because it works so good. Look at this person.
Well, yeah,
and it might have worked for that.
What
that
works for you
person
might not work for me. It's all individual. We all have different body compositions and different makeups, and we need different things. And some of the things that work for you may work for me, but it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah, because when I bring up my wife trying to eat a gram of protein per body weight, it kind of grosses her out thinking about eating that much meat every day.
And her metabolism is far different than ours. But, your wife can eat everything and stays relatively small. And
son of a bitch.
I was like, if you're looking for a couple extra pounds, Jack, I got a couple you can take off my hands.
I know. I told her, I was like, I want to lose 30 by my birthday, and she was like, "Oh, that's fine. You lose them, I'll take them."
Yeah, she could put on 30 pounds and still be very healthy.
But that's my goal now, is to try to lose 30 pounds.
30 pounds by your birthday?
Yeah, and I think so. I just really think over this past month or so is switching from, to this, it's fuel.
Well, dude, when I lost, I mean, here's the thing about being our size.
You can lose weight easy.
It's not hard to lose 30 pounds.
Yeah.
That's why I always thought remember that show, The Biggest Loser?
Yeah.
It was always geared towards, I mean, sometimes a female won, but when you're talking about body fat percentage, it's easier for a guy that's 400 to lose 50% of his body weight and get down to 200 pounds than it is for a girl who's 200 pounds and overweight, or 220. She has to get down to 110, which is impossible for her. You know what I mean? Nearly impossible.
Well, because, the percentage you have to lose.
Exactly.
Or, well, not that you have to lose, you have.
That you have to lose.
Yeah. If I'm 200 pounds overweight versus you're 100 pounds overweight, I have twice as much.
Exactly. So I always thought those shows were geared towards people that come in the heaviest, Yeah. That if they do the program, they should win every time. But yeah, it shouldn't be hard for you to lose 30 pounds by your birthday. I think
once those first 10 focus.
Once those first 10 come off and you get excited about seeing that number, it incentivizes you to make the healthier decisions because you're seeing the progress.
Yeah. And I'm not going to lie, I kind of, I think I talked about that last podcast too, is just been kind of, a little bit down because of being sick since Christmas or injured.
Yep.
And then realizing that I've lost 20 pounds of muscle and gained like 30 pounds since I pinched my nerve last May.
Yeah.
Like, once I saw that kind of was like, hey, bro, you got to refocus here. And because, I mean, it keeps getting more and more proven that the more muscle mass and the longer you can carry that muscle mass, the longer and better life you'll have.
Absolutely.
So, and that's something that I know about and I know that I have to do. It's just about, doing the work, which is hard when you're actually got to go to work. And
it's hard when you're a fun employee too.
Yeah, that's true too. Because it was hard when the only thing I had to focus on was that. It was hard.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's easy to make excuses.
Yes, way easier to make excuses than do work.
And when I was doing it before, when I was back at the end of the year, it would get to I'd try to get that 10,000 step goal or whatever day. And it's like, I would get to be like 10 o'clock at night and I would have like 9,200 steps. And you could technically say, okay, that's close enough, But I'm like, I know that if I'm going to make one lap around the block, I'll get my 800 steps in.
I know, right?
And it's not going to take that long. And I would do that. I would go out at 10:05 at night and walk for 20 minutes or walk for 15 minutes to get my, 2,000 steps in, But that was incentivizing me, but then it's so easy to slip out of that habit.
It is. It's way easier to slip out of the habit than keep the habit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's another hour in the books, dude.
Yeah. It goes by so fast.
I know. It doesn't feel like an hour.
No, and it's just because we're sitting here with a friend and having a conversation.
Well, that and we hung out for about 30, 45 minutes before we started.
Yeah, you got to see me miserably try to walk around your block.
I mean, it happens.
It'll get better, though. It is going to get better.
Yep. Because I feel like we're both in a better place. I felt like when we did the first episode, like we were in or maybe the first two, because I think the first two were before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And so these next three have been since Christmas, and it's been a struggle. We were both excited out of the gate.
Yeah.
And then Christmas since.
I think we're settling into it, though. I think, it's been 3 weeks since we did the last one. I don't want it to be that long before the next one. So we just, we made something the priority. We have to make this a priority. And I think, not that it hasn't been a priority, but my daughter was sick last week. We had the weather, but we're coming into good weather. And, I know that I'm going on vacation here at the end of March, so we'll have to get one of the books for that before then. And so, but hopefully we get a couple in before then.
Yeah. I guess we'll finish with the quote that I sent out today. Oh, and since I already gave you the quote from yesterday, I gave you the quote for today too. Can you remember who you were before the world told you who you should be? That one hits good. It's a good thinker to end on.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us again.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Remember, be better every day.